through the curtain, turning everything gold. Your arm across my waist, like a quiet promise. The kind of morning that you don't let go. I used to fill every moment with doing. Now I just want to be here with you. Soft skin and slow mornings, that's all I want, that's all I need. Your breath on my shoulder, your coffee, your laugh, your everything. Soft skin and slow mornings, the world can wait outside.
Good morning, YouTube. Good morning, vlog. Welcome to another car series. I figured I'd read my script notes for today. Today we're talking about the 4 domains your talent lives in. I want to read this and then we will drive. Okay, let me just start the vehicle. I'll read this and we will drive. Every talent you have lives in one of 4 rooms that I have built over and purpose to profit in. These are 4 domains that I have built in the talent and ability index report. Y'all, I've been working on this app. I'm just speaking app language. Let me pull out of the garage. So I'm sorry, y'all. Hey, my name is Athena. If you're new here, welcome. If you are returning, thank you so much for your digital currency. Every time you return and watch a video, I consider that digital currency. And so I thank you for investing in me. I greatly appreciate it. Yesterday, I told you the whole month in one line, we're gonna we're gonna be talking about how we're wired to build business, right? Today we get the map. Because knowing your talents is useless advice until somebody shows you where to look. Every natural talent you have lives in one of 4 domains, and knowing which one leads in you changing, right? What you should build or how you should sell it. And again, this is entrepreneurship, right? Products, services, organizations. What are we bringing to the market? What are we creating to solve a problem? That's entrepreneurship in a nutshell. You create something in your sphere that answers a problem or fixes or creates a solution, okay? And so first is momentum. This is one of the 4 domains that you'll see in your talent report. This is the doing, energy, finishing, following through, standards, promises kept. So momentum is all about pushing the thing forward. If you are high in the area of momentum, you're probably one who can take tasks and get them done. You're probably one who's not going to be stagnant. You're gonna move whatever it is that you put your hands to do forward. You know a momentum-led person the second you meet them, okay? Their day does not feel done until something is actually done. They're the one everybody hands things to because if they said it, it's happening. In business, momentum shows us as delivery, reliability, and it's very rare, okay? And so when you meet someone who has momentum, or if you're an individual who has momentum, again, you're pushing the needle forward. And this is super important, especially when you're working on teams. If you find that you're not strong in the area of momentum, like you have a hard time pushing things forward, then this is where collaboration comes in, right? We partner with those who will help push things forward. I have someone in the community, a young woman in the community, and she's very much about getting things done. And she is one that I could see could push something forward if I would ever fall behind. The second domain is magnetism. This is the moving energy, presence, voice, initiative. This is the person the room tilts towards when they walk in, the one who says the sentence that settles the argument. And here's the business truth about magnetism. Visibility costs these people less than it costs everyone else. Getting on camera, taking the stage, starting the conversation, that's cheap fuel for them and expensive fuel for the rest of us. Their marketing is their presence. And so if you're magnetizing, right, you command a room. Your presence commands the environment that you walk in. I love that because it demands respect. And many people who are high in magnetism, they're very confident. And that's because the things that they are good at, or the things they know that they're good at, they have really practiced that craft to be magnetic, right? To draw people to them. I tend to feel like I have that one in my top 5, top 10. The third domain is connection. This is the glue, the person who remembers your kid's name and the date of your surgery, the one who checks in, who holds people through their seasons, who keeps a relationship alive across years without effort. In business, connection builds trust faster than any funnel ever will. Clients stay because they feel seen, and seen people talk. Retention and referrals are connections home turf, okay? So if you are high in connection, you are that person who you just got a memory. Now for me, I can't remember your phone number once you give it to me, let alone your name. I always tell people that I meet new, especially at work, you're gonna have to give me 10 days. It's gonna take me 10 days to remember your name, and if it's hard to pronounce it, we might have to get a workaround, okay? Because I'm not that person, okay? I got a short-term memory, okay? All right. The fourth domain is insight. The pattern seers, the real why arrives early for these people. They connect the dots. They know why the plan fails in month 2 while everybody else is celebrating month 1. And in business, hear me, diagnosis itself is a product, okay? People pay real money for the pattern they cannot see themselves. So if you have insight, you are very future forward. You are looking ahead. And that's important, especially when you're talking about business, quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, quarter 4, right? Someone who can look at quarter 2 or quarter 3 or quarter 4 and say, okay, based on certain patterns, based on behaviors, based on the team, based on breakdowns, this is where we're headed. We need to do this or implement that before we can get XYZ, right? Now, everybody has all 4, okay? You are not one letter in a box. The power is in the ranking. Which one leads? Which one lags? Because the ranking is the strategy. 2 people can take the exact same offer idea and they should build it completely differently. The connection-led version is high touch and small and deep. The magnetism-led version is public, loud, and front of the room. Same idea, different machine. That's why coping is so expensive. You're running someone else's machine, okay? That's why copying is so expensive. That's why copying someone else's method. That's why copying someone else's way of doing things is so expensive. You're running someone else's machine. So here's the windshield moment, since we're in the car, okay? Which of the 4 did you hear yourself in just now? Say it out loud. Momentum, magnetism, connection, or insight? Good. Now say the one you heard yourself in least, because that's the one that stops building your whole business, okay? That's the rest of this week. I'm giving each domain its own drive, the autonomy, the business edge, and the shadow side nobody warns you about. 4 rooms: momentum, magnetism, connection, insight. And if you want your actual ranking instead of a guess, the talent and ability index is at purposetoprofitin.com. All right, now let's drive. Let's drive. I'm like, let me read these before I leave the house. That way I'm not trying to drive and read, which is stupid. Not even wondering why I thought that was a good idea. Good morning, you guys. I just kind of wanted to have these conversations about Purpose to Profit In, because obviously that is the business that I am building, and that it's actually a rebrand and a relaunch. And so it is something that I'm very passionate about. And for me, it is my exit strategy out of my 9 to 5. Yes, 1,000,000%. School is definitely back in, because here are the plethora of cars, but that's okay. It is my exit strategy from my 9 to 5, but it's also my wisdom-led strategy for dismantling my ideology around the 9 to 5 spectrum. If I tell you guys today is a very I'm already struggling today as I'm going into the 9 to 5. Don't get me wrong. I am a workaholic, okay? I work. That is ingrained in my psyche and my DNA. My family, the two people in my life that I um, have seen have an impeccable work ethic are my grandmother and my mother. My mother worked 3 jobs to help take care of us. My grandmother worked 1 job for the VA for 60 or 65 plus years. She missed a day after she got in a car accident. I never knew her to miss a day of work ever. She had uniforms pressed. Her shoes were white. She would re-whiten them every weekend. Like, I have a pristine work ethic. But when God shows you the plan isn't what you have been kind of programmed to think the plan is, you can't unsee that. You can't unknow that. And so when I'm looking at 9 to 5, or I'm thinking about my job, it's just that is not the plan for my life. It's not the plan for my life. And there is no elevation. We are made to create. This is why I'm starting with the talent and ability index, because we have to understand how we're created if we're going to push back at things that don't make sense anymore, if we're going to push back at things that don't work anymore. Instead of staying and remaining there, we have to start to understand ourselves so that we can know, what does my next step look like? What is the bigger plan? I can't just want more and hope for more and pray for more and ask God to open doors or make a way or allow me to live in abundance, and I haven't done the work to understand, okay, how does that more come about? How does one walk in abundance? How are these people that I see moving in what I see as levels of abundance, or as I see levels of success? How are they doing it? Now, they may not know how to articulate it. They may not even know how they're doing it. But however it happens, they're doing it, right? And so I believe strongly, and this is because the Holy Spirit told me to study Matthew 25 on talents, and then Luke 19 on business. And that has been my drive for over the last 4 years. It has been very hard because, again, God will give you something, but you have to literally do the work to figure the aspects of it out. And I don't think that's God giving you something and saying, okay, I'm giving you this little spark, and now I'm going to make you struggle to figure out the full depth of it. No, it's repositioning you. It's a process of drawing you. It's a process of stewarding you in a way so that there's discipline and consistency, right? And so for me, talents have been such an instrumental part of who I am, because it's allowed me to know who I am, or aspects of who I am in terms of my identity. It's allowed me to put a language to how I behave, or how I move, or how I show up. For instance, today I have to have a meeting with my boss, my supervisor, because there have been some mistakes I've been making in my workload. And I'm a very big person to beat up myself when I make mistakes. And I'm a very big person who can get disappointed when I make mistakes. So nobody comes down harder on me than me. But I also know that if a system is broken, because I know my talents, I'm very strategic, I'm very analytic, right? I look at everything. That's that insight talent, right? Or that insight domain. I'm looking ahead. I'm looking at the breakdowns. I'm looking at the things that aren't adding up. And if those things aren't adding up, I'm going to make mistakes, because they don't match. And so if I'm taught to do something one way, and you change that something, but you don't inform and redirect how someone has been trained to do something, then there's a disconnect. And the mistake is going to be the mistake, because you changed the process, but you didn't communicate, right? And so when there's broken processes, or there's poor leadership, or there's inadequate training, there are going to be mess ups. And that's not to put the blame on someone else, but it's a twofold thing. I have a responsibility of X, Y, Z. You have a responsibility of elemental P, right? So Today's a little bit of a frustrating day because I'm like, the things that are tripping me up in a particular role that I have are things that I have addressed in a well detailed proposal of solutions, issues that I identified, and solutions to those issues that I've identified. Anytime at any employer, well, even more so this employer, that I have had problems or I have found problems or there's something that just does not work, I always come with a solution, and usually I put it in writing because I believe you shouldn't complain if you don't have a solution, right? Complaining gets no one nowhere. You need to create a solution. And I really have to work on complaining because I think I'm starting to identify that I do complain a lot, and that needs to stop. That needs to come out of my diet. That is a cancer. That is not healthy. And we got to stop that. We got to cut that completely out. So I have to have that meeting today, but I said all of that to say, because I know how I'm wired, because I know my talents, because I know how God created me, I can sit down in these conversations and know who I am in the conversation. I can own where my mistakes are and why, because I can articulate how I operate and how I'm motivated, how I move, how I fail, right? I know my weaker talents. I know those bottom talents that I need levels of support, or I need systems that help support the things that I don't really do well. Case in point, this particular conversation is all about numbers. In the health game, they're called codes. If you don't put in certain codes during a procedure or an interaction with the patient, then you can't get paid because those codes represent money, right? And so if you have all of these things that you do with the patient and you miss one code, you can miss money on that one code. That's the problem. Apparently, I've been missing a code in the procedure that I've been doing. Now, there's these templates that we're able to use to kind of, help us not miss things. Everything's in the template, it's plug and play, you update the most recent information, etc. Great, but if you change a template and you don't communicate that to the ones who use the templates, it can't be assumed that because you as a higher up change a template, that new template, everyone's aware that it exists, right? And utilizing it. And then you come and say, well, I put an updated template in and it hasn't been used. Well, that's a breakdown of communication. That's not someone who is carelessly overlooking the changes that have been made and the implementations that have been directed when they have not. And there's ways that you can communicate, and those ways of communication that should come to me, it doesn't exist. I looked all the way back until May, can't find it. Unless I overlooked it, then I stand corrected. That's because I know how I operate. I analyze, I look at everything from top to bottom, left to right, so that I don't miss something. And sometimes that over analytical mind can miss things. So I always am open to stand corrected, and I'm always open to corrective criticism. Another thing that gets me on edge is when someone communicates and the verbiage that they use can put you in an offensive state. That has happened to me these last couple of days. And so I'm saying all that to say these are the things that I feel are happening to continue to make me uncomfortable in my space. Because until we're uncomfortable, we are not going to move the way we're supposed to move. Until we are comfortable, we are not going to put our hand to the plow. Until we're uncomfortable, we are not going to see what God has given us to walk out, to carry out. That's going to take us into those levels of success, into those levels of scaling, into those levels of more. We have to get uncomfortable, people. We have to get uncomfortable. I would have never built out these digital tools to help people. These tools will make me money, 1,000,000%. But these tools will help other people. I met this amazing woman who's going to be a part of my beta. And it really spoke to me in this particular conversation that we had. I invited her into the beta. And part of getting into the beta is you have to go to purposeofprofiting.com and get on the wait list. And then we bring you into the beta totally free. So this means that you get the talent and ability index totally free. This means that you get the signature offer blueprint, which helps you identify a product or service that you are specifically created to carry out in 90 days and take to market. It's business in a box, right? And why I say it's built based on you is because you take the talent and ability index, which helps you identify aspects of your identity, your behavior, your mannerisms, how you behave, how you show up. And so then you take some other assessments as well. Sorry, noise. So sorry. We got one more of the shaking, y'all. This particular road, they put these strips in, so I apologize. And so you take this ability index test, and it really helps to align you with a product or service based on how you operate, that you can actually be successful at carrying out. Okay, there's so much that we can do in the world. You just need the idea, and then you need the added support to bring that idea to life, and this is what that tool does. And then what these individuals get in the beta is, after they go through those two doors, they go into the signature community. Now, the signature community is leveraging AI to the max. Okay, there are 5 rooms that the individual will walk in, and these rooms are certain steps in the process of taking a product or a service to market. And in these rooms is where you're really developing that product or that service, and you're looking at it from every angle. You're taking it apart, you're putting it back together, you're clarifying, you're really digging deep into what this is and how do I make it successful. Not throwing spaghetti at the wall, but actually doing the work to produce something that can yield you a harvest, that can yield you revenue, right? That can be consistent income. That's important. That's strategy in business. And so I was talking to this young woman, amazing person. We actually met at my job. We then connected and went out to brunch and just talked more. And so we've been building relationship, and it's just so good to have another entrepreneur on the island that I can talk to who's working, but also building out several businesses. It's a different feeling when you have someone that you can talk to who is walking that path of life that you're walking on. Entrepreneurship is a very unique path. And to find other entrepreneurs, whether they're ahead of you or behind you, it's just something comforting in that, because you don't feel alone. They understand your frustration. They understand your desire to change the narrative that isn't yours. And 9 times out of 10, they're doing something along the same lines to change their narrative so that they own it, right? They own the right to it, and they own the ability to change it. And so she was saying, I wanted to pick multiple things on your wait list, but it only allowed me to choose one. And there's a strategy for that. She was like, I definitely want the talent assessment tool, but I also wanted to support you and go into one of the programs. And I said, I truly appreciate that. Now you're getting all that for free. You're getting the assessment, and you're getting a community for free, and you're getting the other third tool that you really don't need because you already have several businesses. So you go through a whole nother process. And that's what I built out. If someone comes to the signature community and they already have built out a product or service, or they have an idea, then they don't have to go through or purchase the signature offering blueprint, because they already have something tangible we can build out, or they have an idea that we can build out within the community. The community is not just come and you just talk to one another and you post and you get pushed. No, you go in, and each room you're doing the work with Bea. Bea is the artificial intelligence tool that I created. She's very intelligent in business and industry and products and services and business formation. She is going to pick your thing apart and help you walk it out. And all the while, the way I built it is, as you're building, you're seeing this narrative create literally a narrative on paper, a business plan on paper. Everything you do in one of these rooms to build out that product or service, you're adding to that narrative. So each day that you finish something, you can go back and read that ongoing narrative to see where you started and where you are and what's forming. Y'all, every time I go work on this community and doing the coding and changing things, like this morning, I was so frustrated because there's courses also in this community that I was trying to utilize AI, right? I wanted to have just AI, a lot of AI, so that I don't have to do the heavy lifting. The things that we build don't always have to be us showing up for these things every day. we can utilize AI to show up in these things, and then we support our members in other ways so that we can do more. This is how we leverage AI to accelerate the work of our hands, and we have to learn how to use it to our benefit and to the benefit of others. Me, a member, I live in Hawaii. If I have a member who goes into the community to work on her time zone and her time frame when I'm asleep or I'm at work or I'm otherwise on occupy, then she doesn't get what she needs to be able to move to step A, Z, elemental P, right? And so it does that member a disservice versus implementing artificial intelligence with my creativity and the way that I want to show up for my members. And when they work with this tool, yes, it's artificial intelligence, but they know that I put the blood, sweat, and tears day in and day out to build that tool, to have my thought process and my strategy implemented into them to serve the people that are called to me to the highest level. I'm cutting no corners. I'm paying the money. So I said all that to say I was not happy with the way it was coming out. I could incur more costs and get like 11 labs and really have something pristine. But here's the other thing. When you are building a business and it's not generating revenue, you don't just keep pouring money in so that everything can be perfect. You then create phases. Okay, phase one, I'm gonna have to do the work. I'm gonna have to structure and block times to do the recordings. Once they're done, and they'll be there for every new member that comes in. Okay, and then as we generate revenue, we can go back and put AI implemented videos and voiceovers and things like that to enhance the experience or to elevate the space, right? But you do it with strategy and you build out phases. So going back to say, she said she really wanted to take the assessment, and that really excited me because what that said is that there is a need for that product. There is a need for what that product is going to serve. It's going to serve a need. Someone wants to know a little bit more about themselves and then how they operate. She has businesses and she wants to change some things, structure some things, take some things into a new level, but she knows she needs to understand her first, her hangups, her hiccups, and her strengths, right? And now someone's offering a way to actually articulate that physically and tangibly know, and not just think, not just guess, but it's scientific work. And you utilize AI, artificial intelligence, that can pull in things that the average person can't do in a matter of moments. Like, why wouldn't you want that if you're trying to become a better you or you're trying to advance yourself? Of course you're going to want that tool. So it was just confirmation that I'm in the right lane, I'm doing the right thing, and that it's really going to serve the people I'm meant to serve well. I'm telling y'all, I can show you the codes, I can show you the chat threads. I think I'm at 30 chat threads in Claude, because once you start to learn artificial intelligence, and once threads get too long, there's drifting and there's certain issues that begin to develop. So you learn to course correct and you learn to do things a little bit different. So I've learned quite a bit in that area. Yeah, I can keep going, y'all, but I just got to work, and I got to go in here and do the thing. I hope y'all enjoyed this car chat. We're gonna have one every day, except for the days that I'm off. I think the days that I'm off, I'm gonna really enjoy our conversations because I'm gonna be able to really focus on the conversation and not be focused on driving, and most importantly, not be having to go into someone's job and work on someone else's vision. But I'm trying to stop complaining, y'all, but I'm struggling. God help me. So yes, we're gonna dig in. So tomorrow, I'm off tomorrow. Yes, I'm off tomorrow. So today we expose the 4 domains. Okay, there's 34 talents, and those 34 talents can live in either one of those 4 domains. When you take the assessment, you begin to see where your talents, your natural way of doing things, where they live, right? And so you begin to see insight is my highest point. This is why I think ahead. This is why I'm futuristic. This is why I plan ahead. This is why I'm so meticulous, right? Or magnetism. This is why people are drawn to me. This is why I'm easily influential around people. These are things that we need to be able to articulate so we understand. And when you're talking about jobs or you're talking about entrepreneurship or businesses, when you know how you're made up, then you know, okay, this role isn't good for me. It's not going to stretch me. It's not going to allow me to build upon these things that I'm naturally wired to do. And so I'm going to always be disappointed. I'm going to always be frustrated. So even if you use your talent understanding on job selection, it's going to benefit you tremendously, right? So we're going to be breaking down these 4 domains and I believe the next 4 days. Each day we're going to talk about a domain.
Yeah, it's time to build your vision. Step into your purpose, make the right decision. This is your kingdom, claim your ground. Let your faith be the only sound that you're hearing now.